Enrique needs to go to bed early, guys, because he's sleepy.
I'm just glad that Slow got his energy back.
Well, what'd you say?
What I say, man?
I said I'm just glad that Slow-Mo got his energy back.
Yeah,
he took his Red Bull. Oh, don't say it. Don't say it.
No.
Don't say it. I know what you want to say. He reached down deep and got his energy back.
Slow-Mo is back. Slow-Mo, what is going on, man?
Yo, what up?
Oh, that's it, man.
That's it?
Yeah, yo, what up? What up? Slow-Mo, are you? You know what? I think you know what, 14. I think you embarrassed him. I think he's embarrassed after the DM conversation we had today.
Oh man, we can't. DM conversations are DM. Well, guess what? First of all,
don't bring up DM conversations and say.
I was about to say DM conversations are DM conversations.
I'm not the one that got exposed in the DM conversation. Mind your business.
God, here we go.
Oh boy,
I swear. Man, that energy you show, man. I'm glad you got it back. I'm just happy I'm happy you're all the way back, 100% healthy. So I ain't gotta take it easy on you no more.
Okay, all right.
You're taking it easy on who?
You
don't take it easy on nobody. You just take L's. So shut up. So what are you talking about?
I just take
L's, homie. So like, I mean, really, can we get to the show and stop with the bullshit?
Okay. Someone's feeling a little salty today.
Yes, Daddy.
Here we go again. Someone's feeling salty today. How about you?
You're acting a little triggered right now, man.
Uh-oh. I ain't say it.
Oh.
You know, when people can their only discussion points is you're triggered, then I guess that's why you keep hearing the same thing over and over again. So I'm not surprised.
Who's that pointed at? Who's that pointed at, sir?
Is that pointed at both of you?
Oh, okay.
The two trigger twins. You know, the only people who say
trigger twins.
Hey, Forte, next is we're gonna be nut huggers.
Oh,
we already do that.
And then he's gonna go in on my English skills.
Oh,
I already see where this is going. All right,
I just found out a really good thing about what happens tonight.
Points over and over again. I can use different content.
All I know is people that work in IT. I know what they do when they're on their break now. It's great.
Oh my god! All right, hey,
okay, no.
Oh no, we gotta make it.
Here we go.
We're gonna do it now.
You wanted to start the show, Promo. You said
we're gonna go in now.
Get to the show.
I thought we said we leave like that. I thought we said we had
in typical Forte fashion. You make shit up. You try to pass that off. Let me talk about some real. Let's talk about some real. Since you want to talk about stuff that was in the DM that you made up about what I do on my break at my job. Let's talk about what you do for real during podcasts.
Oh, we can't. Oh, let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you a question.
Instead of actually doing the podcast, this dude was jerking off the Twitch streamers.
Jerking off the Twitch streamers.
This is what you're doing instead of actually paying attention to the podcast.
Let's paint this picture.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. How about?
Hold on, Slow-Mo.
I mean, I don't know what you're doing when we in Xbox Live party chats. Sound like you snoring. Sound like you're also doing something else. I mean, can you keep your hands off yourself?
Sound like you snoring? Well, I like myself, so sir, I'm sorry to hear that.
Can you stop touching yourself while we playing games?
Okay. Time.
Welcome to Rap Podcast.
Whoa. Okay, I'm gonna have to mute both of you guys because we have a show here to do. So, and we have a special guest who might not ever come back after hearing this conversation.
Hey, Nick.
I could feel the sexual tension in this room. I'm just letting it go with natural course.
Hey man, that's the frustration, man. I understand. Gotta release every once in a while.
Well, you release a little too much. You need to unrelease. Releasing all the time.
Hey man, that Twitch streamer was beautiful. I just wanted to know that.
Yeah. I hope you cleaned up afterwards.
I did.
Oh my! All right. We're here to talk about video games, guys. Video games.
Should have kept the video games in the first place. Keep it going.
Hey, I tried to keep it video
No,
games.
you didn't.
Yes, I did. You had to get the last one.
You tried to start with the
Oh, you had to get the last one.
And you didn't like where it went. Too bad.
Pick a person, let it go. So we're gonna start the show now.
You can tell Slow-Mo 100% back now.
Yeah, he is. He's 100. He's like Denzel on Training Day right now. You know, Hoyt. All right.
Well, just
I'm surgical with this bitch.
Since Enrique is about to get this thing started, just to let everybody know, me and Slow-Mo actually do like each other. We just disagree on a lot of shit. But that's my boy. I don't know how he feels about me now. You know, he might not like me too much after this episode. I'm sorry, Slow-Mo. Bigger man will say I'm sorry.
It's all good, Forte.
Why
let's keep it going, man.
friends? Why can't?
Can we do the show? Can we?
Yeah. All right, everyone. Welcome to Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. We are back. I was sick last week. I had sounded like DMX on crack. It was pretty bad, man. It was pretty bad. It was just an awful week, man. But I'm back and I'm ready to talk some video games with everyone. And hey, this episode of BRAP is brought to you by Jergens.
I thought we were getting past this, man.
Jergens and barbecue.
No, Popeye's chicken.
Popeye's chicken. Love that chicken at Popeyes.
Nick, you have any regrets yet?
No, not yet. Like I said, Popeyes. I don't know. KFC gravy might be the better sponsor, but to each their own.
Yeah.
Oh, that's up there with Churches.
Yeah, Church is good. So, hey, we are back, and we have some news to discuss. We're going to do our Xbox year in a review, 2018, and we got some Anaconda news. It's some big, thick Anaconda news for Xbox.
Oh my god! Wow.
It's gonna be one of those shows.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those.
I can't.
It's never going to get on track.
Wait.
Nah.
Wait till Luca joins.
Oh shit! Oh man, no, Luca gonna clown us all, man. Don't do that.
Yeah, but all joking aside, there is some Anaconda news, Xbox related, that we'll talk about in a little bit. But before we get to our gaming topics, I do want to make a special announcement. We do next week are the holidays. Well, we're currently in the holiday season, so but next week is Christmas. But we are having a BRAP the day after, Wednesday 26th. We actually have a special guest joining us, returning guest, Matt Piscatella from MPD is going to come on and talk November MPD numbers and maybe get some predictions from Matt on what he thinks is going to happen trend wise in the gaming industry in 2019. So definitely want to check that out next week. And we are working on getting some other industry guests on that haven't been on the podcast in some time. So on that note, we do have a special guest making his return. We have Undead, and I always forget the last numerical and Roman numeral part here.
Yeah, I go by varying names online. You can go with Nick, Undead, Asshole, Prick, whichever one works for you. Really, like I respond to all variations of my name. So
we're gonna go with Undead. I like Undead. I think it's a cool name, man. I think you have one of the cool Twitter names on Twitter. So Undead from Gaming Perspective has joined us, which Eric Jackson is actually a co-host on. So hey, man, welcome back to BRAP, man. It's been a long time.
Thanks for having me on. Always a good time.
Absolutely, man. And go ahead and introduce the rest of the panel tonight. We have B Money.
Yo, what's going on, people? What's happening, man? You know, we took a week off, but I'm glad to be back, man. You know, this is a lot of great topics to talk about, and you know, Xbox year in review should be pretty interesting.
Yes, it'll be very interesting. We have live from South Florida, aka Jurassic Park,
Man.
Mr. Eric Jackson, everybody.
Randy Watson. Chilling. What's going on, everybody?
Not much, man. Just glad to be back, man. You know,
Yeah.
glad to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little under the weather. Good to have you back.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It's good to be back, man. Good to be back. Good to have Jergens as a sponsor too. We also have Mr. Gaming Forte. What's up, man?
Oh man, no man, good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank
The energy is amazing already. Haven't even really started the show yet. And for the sake of our host, I mean not our host, but our guest, I'm changing my Twitter handle right now to Undead Anaconda until next week.
All right, there you go. And without further ado, my brother from the DMV, Slow-Mo Backslap.
What up, man?
Slow-Mo, it is good. It's good to hear your voice, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. I didn't know whether I was going to be here or not. I haven't had a migraine, a really nasty migraine since Saturday evening.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. I was a little worried, man, because migraines are no joke. If they, that could be, serious if it sticks around for a long time, man. So.
Yeah, that's what a lot of friends and family have been telling me. If it didn't clear up today, I was going to, go to a doctor tomorrow, get a CAT scan or whatever, see if I got a tumor or whatever in there. I don't know.
It's not a tumor.
Luckily, it cleared up. It's still a little like, it's not like all the way clear, but it's good enough. It's been so much been going on in these gaming streets. I've been like, I got to make it. I got to be able to talk these topics, man. It's been a lot going on.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, but seriously, man, I'm glad you're feeling better, man. Great to have you on tonight, man. Glad you can make it, and the migraine sounds like it's better, man. So that's good news. And I just want to say, for those if your head hurts and your head you feel like you have a headache on your head, Jergens seems to work well if you put it on your head. It take away the pressure.
You got issues, dog. You got issues.
Crazy issues.
Well, the question is, what motion do you use to apply the Jergensen?
Well, I found if you counterclockwise tends to be pretty helpful.
Oh, is that what works for you? Counterclockwise?
Yeah, they clockwise. You got to mix it up a little bit. So,
hey, as Luca would say, not like this.
Oh my God. If Luca was on the podcast, she would have left already.
Yeah, she just would have left. Not even a word said, no bye, no nothing. It just been like, oh, Luca's gone.
She might have. We actually might have heard her say bye.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't even got that much out of her.
Yeah. So real quick, guys, before we talked about we get into Xbox related stuff, I do want to bring something up that came up this week on Twitter, and as you guys know, the Anaconda is codenamed for one of Xbox, the next Xbox, next gen Xbox. And when I first heard Anaconda, I think like most of us, I think Nick, you mentioned this before we went live. I immediately went back to 1990 and Mr. Sir Mix-a-Lot and his song "Baby Got Back." And for many of you don't remember that song, there's a part of that song where he says, "My Anaconda don't want none unless you got buns on," right? Of course,
very 90s lyric.
Very 90s, yes. Sir Mix-a-Lot was he's sincere when he says that. I mean, he's being for real. He's like, "My Anaconda don't want none unless you got buns on," and he's serious. And for those you know what, serious. My man's serious. He's sincere.
The video even showed that he was serious almost.
Yeah.
Yo, man, can I just say this real quick, man? Sir Mix-a-Lot is a legend. He may be a one-hit wonder, but that one hit is just it's got legs, man. It's seriously like, I mean, it exposed it let white people know what black men like. Like you like buns. Like,
let me tell you something. It changed my perspective on how I looked at women. It did. It really did. As a 13-year-old male, I started looking at buns.
I started looking at butts, man.
I did. Butts.
I don't want to dig, but I just can't help myself. I'm acting like an animal. So here's my family. I'm gonna get you home.
See, we got in a world now where almost everybody has butts.
14 know all the lyrics.
Yeah,
dude, hey man, I watched that video. The first time I seen it, I think I made sure I recorded it so I could watch it over and over. I studied that thing, man.
Wait, even the turntables had buns. You remember that?
Man, I had
turntables had buns.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Remember
the intro? Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt. She looks like one of those rapper girls' girlfriends.
But it shows you how different things are now, man. Because now it's like the thing. If you don't have like a fat ass, you're not doing it.
Well, that's what the whole saying. Are you an ass man or a titty man? And
Okay, that's not game related, but okay.
we need to pull back from the rabbit hole. Let's
let's lift up to 747. This is going like the way of the DM. But I get your point for it. It's a good point. No, but we bring up the Sir Mix-a-Lot song, all joking aside, because it speaks to 90s pop culture, and like many of us, I think Nick, you said when you saw the Polygon tweet, you were at work. It was like 5 in the morning, and automatically the first thing that came to your mind was that song too, right?
Yeah.
And so, look at that. D-True says, classic by Sir. Oh, he's saying Mr. Something on Broadway is another classic by Sir Mix-a-Lot. My Posse's on Broadway is another classic by Sir Mix-a-Lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, the studio derailed him when they tried to get him to do lightning in a bottle twice and make him put him on the glass.
Put him on the glass. Oh,
he
didn't want to do that.
No, the studio forced him to do it.
Really?
They were trying to get another Baby Got Back.
Man, that was
pretty much what did him in.
Yeah,
he did put him on the glass. It just didn't hit. Yep.
And he was done after that. Wow. Well,
hey, and shout out to another G, Tone Loc.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Funky Cool Medina. What?
Yep.
Funky Cool Medina.
All right.
So, rap hip hop spot.
Yeah, this is Brad Hip Hop Hour. So, so Polygon, in a very clever way, tweeted out, "My Anaconda don't want none unless you got games, hun." Let me take a deep breath here, and I think we all know what happens next.
Pandemonium.
Straight foolishness.
Wait, B-Buddy, can you say it again?
Straight foolishness, man.
Yep.
That's all you saw.
I mean, people were up in arms about Polygon. They're unprofessional. This is a black eye to the gaming industry. This is what
I didn't see that one. People stupid.
A black eye to game journalism. This is why people don't take gaming journalism serious. This is why Polygon
is the toy.
Oh, and the obvious, this proves that the media is biased against Xbox. Now, I went on my, on my crusade yesterday and started posting things from last console gen, where there was articles on why you should buy a 360 and not a PS3, where IGN wrote articles like who can save the PlayStation 3. I think Tom's Hardware did an article, is the PS3 Sony's biggest disaster? I mean, so and the more recent one from Forbes, the Xbox One S is a better buy than the PlayStation 4 Pro or something to that effect.
They said the S was?
Yeah. I think Forbes has put an article. They're saying it's a better value
than the Pro.
Yeah, well, because of the inclusion of the 4K Blu-ray drive and
okay, that's the angle.
Yeah, they were going with that.
The media was very high.
The
media was very high on the Xbox One S,
especially with the price of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still a great value. I mean,
you know who wasn't high on the Xbox One S? When we talk about bias, Xbox fanboys. The minute the X was announced, the S died. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Became irrelevant.
My S left my house.
It didn't matter.
My S left the house the same day.
See?
Yeah. You buy.
I'm just saying. I mean,
well, the X has outsold the S this year. Overall this year. So
yeah, I didn't think what happened. So I was one of those. I was kind of one of the doubters, but that's dope.
But we'll talk about
quality product. It's a quality product.
No, we'll get to that in our year review.
That kind of stuff is going to be relevant for when in the Anaconda topic too, I think. But we'll get to that.
Anaconda. I don't know why I just said that.
Come on, let's stay on track, man. We can't evolve, man.
Something's wrong with us. Something's wrong. Nick's gonna just
look what you started, Slow Mo.
How did I start this? Enrique is the host.
Thank you, Slow Mo.
Do anything?
Hey, Forte, you can't blame Slow Mo for everything, man.
Oh, okay.
He sounds so sad.
That's up to Enrique to do.
I basically just got my hand slapped, so I'm gonna sit in the corner for a minute.
So everyone, I mean, people. I'll be serious, guys. People went crazy, and I'm thinking, like, come on, like, it's not. It's a joke. It's not that serious. This isn't media bias, and this isn't like the people at Polygon that are writing the articles. Nick, you brought up a great point before we went live about who is actually behind these tweets.
Yeah, sorry. The biggest thing people forget is with the age of social media and how large a lot of these different media companies are. You call it Polygon, Kotaku, and things like that. Generally, there are interns or social media managers behind these accounts. And you got to keep in mind the biggest thing with Twitter's algorithm high. So the more people that interact with your tweets, the more your stuff will show up in their feed. If you don't get people interacting with your stuff, your tweets will disappear and Twitter won't show those tweets to people. So you got to keep in people's minds. What's the easiest way to get people to interact, quote tweet, and just as a general rule of thumb, interact with the tweet. Say something that's off color and super funny to one group of people and will offend another group of people. It's like, it's absolute gold mine.
Shocking. Wait a minute. Nick, are you saying they did this for clicks?
Looks like we got a mystery game.
I am shocked and amazed.
I'm good.
My bad, go ahead, man.
Clickbait is clickbait because people, like companies and YouTubers, rely on ad revenue from people clicking on. In order to get you to click advertisements, you got to click the article. So thus why we have news titles that make you sit there and go, this is what we doing? And then
right.
You had the whole IGN God of War black screen bullshit too. That's why you get all this kind of stuff. It's because the whole medium of making money as a gaming media website revolves around clicks and ad revenue. And that's what happens from it. And the fact that people were up in arms and, like, let's face it, most of the people that get mad at media, they're trash too. Like, I hate this whole thing. Like, I get pissed off at Kotaku articles occasionally too. Like, I get it. You read an article and you're like, oh, that's fucking shit. Why is that there? But you don't. You sit there and I know it's a trend. There's some people I don't like their article types or how they write things, so I don't click on their articles. Like, and most of the time, unless I know someone that's freelance writing an article for Kotaku, as a general rule of thumb, I won't look at their stuff because I don't have an interest in it. Same goes for Polygon. I hate all these guys that were like 6 months ago when they had a bad article about Xbox or PlayStation or whatever. People are like, oh, Polygon's trash. I won't even read it. And now they're all back in full force for this tweet going, this is why Polygon's trash. I'm like, why are you paying attention to them? Mute the account. Move on.
That's a great point.
Sleep over this.
That low hanging fruit, man. But I mean, this may sound bad, and maybe hey, maybe I'll catch some shit for it. But who's the easiest to piss off? This generation.
Xbox fanboys.
You're seeing it like over and over and over, and they fall for it every freaking time.
Yep.
Every time. It's like fishing with dynamite. Like, watch this, guys. We're gonna all run together at the same time and watch everybody runs with us.
The best way to construct a title for something, if you're sitting there and you're like, there used to be a guy I used to write with, and he was like ultra clickbait on the site I used to work for before I worked with Tick. And this guy would sit there and he'd like, so this is what the article's about, and these are the 7 different titles I have for it. Which one makes you the most angry? I'm like, oh, well, clearly that one. He's like, okay, that's the one we're going to use. And then you just watch the comments flood in, all the interaction, people just eat it up. And, like, let's face it, trolling on the internet literally requires absolutely no effort anymore.
Nope, not at all.
Like, I literally, like, there's sometimes for fun, I'll just tweet something before I go to bed, put my phone on silent and go, all right, how many notifications can I wake up to? One day I did that, woke up, 787 notifications. I was like, whoo, boy.
And let me ask you guys this too. Like, okay, it is like low hanging fruit to do that, right? To go clickbait, clickbait and do that. But you are trying to get revenue, and you're trying to stay relevant, and you're trying to earn money in a world where everything is pulling at everybody's attention, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to sit and say we're not. I find it hard to kind of put like journalistic integrity when it comes to like writing an article about floppy boobs and dead or alive, right? But the fact of the matter is, it's like, who's more wrong? Like, them for doing the clickbait or people getting that deep into their feelings over like a console to where it like pisses them off to that level where they're screaming unprofessionalism and all this other stuff. Because to me, I mean, I go the other way. Like, I feel that's silly. Like, and with all the things in the world to really worry about, things that truly matter, I can't sit and be pissed off at somebody for saying that they're unprofessional for writing weird things about game consoles, which ultimately are toys. We all enjoy them. We're all into them, but it's an enthusiast thing.
I feel you with that, but I think the only thing that really makes me go like, "Are you serious?" with their like with some of the media is the stuff like, "Let me put a Joy-Con in my butt" kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's like going left type stuff.
Yeah, it's just like, what is happening here? How did that get approved? What are you doing? Like, that's just wild. But like,
that's just mixing jackass with you know what I'm saying? It's like Johnny Knoxville level shit. You know?
Yeah. It's just like, what?
Right. But if I know, again, we're trying to survive here, and it may not be the thing that we would have done years ago. I'm speaking as like a gaming outlet or whatever. But if we know the temperature of social media is, we can get good or bad a bunch of clicks, and hey, we made our quota for the day. All right, it keeps the lights on, it keeps people paid. And we'll continue to write stuff, which people tend to ignore. If you think about it, the good stuff people ignore. They only go in for the bullshit.
Yeah,
I've said that time and again. There's plenty of good articles out there, plenty of good writers, but do they get noticed?
Nope.
Really. No, they get ignored. Nobody wants to say, "Hey, man, everybody look over here at this great article." But no, everybody wants to be pissed about Anaconda, want some or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. No, I that's a great point, T. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, people gloss over a lot of the good articles that are out there because they're so focused on the negative stuff. And look, and if you don't think that if them trolling Sony could generate the kind of clicks that Xbox does, I bet you they'd be doing the same thing too. Because they did the last console gen, Right. So
they talked about this on Weapon Go too. They said, you look at like ESPN, and places like that. These like sports writers write shitty articles all the time about athletes and teams, like all the time.
Yeah,
and they may have their fan bases that get mad, but it kind of comes with the territory. It's like, you don't want us to write this, be better.
Yeah, or you got the sports analysts that you see on ESPN, Fox, whatever, and they make stuff up and they claim they got sources. Yeah, every now and then they get called out,
Right? Yeah, they just throw it out there too slow mo. Like, a source says, "Who's a source?" I can't divulge that.
I can't divulge.
I think the guy that gets caught with that the most is Stephen A. Smith, because I think Kevin Durant got him really good. And he was just like, "Ain't no source tell you, tell you that information."
So Stephen A. Smith and Chris Broussard.
Yeah, they get caught the most with their fictional sources, but it's really just their opinion on what they think is going to happen. Right. Yeah, this stuff happens all the time.
Yeah. But like Nick said, it's like, it's easy to do, but you can choose to ignore it also and make them be better, hold them accountable. Like, nah, man, we're not gonna click that, but everybody falls for it. We're all jumping in.
They do, man. They all. It's funny, man. They all fall for it, man. That's the part that kills me. They all fall. And at the end of the day, man, the shit that kills me is when I see people saying, "Oh, for the people that think that are out there defending this and saying it's fun, it's not, because it's cool to be bagging on Xbox and blah 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 blah, whatever the case is." I'm like, you know what, like,
anybody can get dunked on, man.
Nothing in that tweet said anything about Xbox. Nope. Not one thing. But everybody's offended. not one thing in that tweet said anything about Xbox.
And where's the offense come from, B? Where's the offense come from? For people who get offended. Truth. Truth hurts.
That truth will always hurt. 7 days a week, 365. It's always gonna hurt.
It hurt me with a lie. Like, you lying, that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, people looking at that getting offended. That's because they know it's true.
Right. They don't want it to be true. They don't want it. Ain't nobody likes to be piled on for the thing that they like. You know what I'm saying? Like Browns fans, I'm sure they're tired of it. I'm a Heat fan. Come on, fam. I'm a Dolphin fan. I catch it all the time.
Dude,
Have you seen my Bulls? Have you seen my Bulls?
You know what I'm saying? So
I'm a Redskins fan. We can't do anything right.
Sure can't. and I'll be our loudest critic too.
Our quarterback can't even get a surgery without getting like a staph infection.
But you know why slow mo? Because you like the Redskins, you care about the Redskins, so you can be critical and say, "You guys got to be better."
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true about anything. Anything that you're into, you can be critical of it.
That's a great example. I mean, I hear people always compare console wars to sports, but as a sports fan, like Slow-Mo, I think you and I've talked about the skins. We're critical.
Very, very critical of the skins.
You know,
they deserve it because our general manager is probably one of the worst general managers in all of sports, period. But I mean, I think the only guy worse than him is the Wizards general manager.
Let's not even talk about him, Slow-Mo.
They're racing
the
to the
only
bottom.
guy that gets secret extensions. Who the heck gets secret extensions? Like, I'm sorry. I'm going down right. I'm about to get really angry too. Woosah. Okay, continue. Go back. My bad.
Yeah, let me pass you the bottle of Jergens.
I need a bottle of Jack Daniels talking about sports. Go ahead, man.
Especially if you're a fan of the DMV, man.
Yeah.
Go. So, Forte, man, any thoughts on this?
Man, I don't get it. People, first of all, people just need to calm the hell down and realize that people have jobs to do out here. And it's not like the first time we got clickbait titles and every damn thing and people making innuendos and different things like that. We got people supporting this community that do far worse than that on a day-to-day basis, and people don't really give a care about anything. So I just overall just think, yeah, exactly. You know, and some people say that it's because, well, they're biased about this and they're biased about that. I mean, everybody has their own preferences and everybody has their different way of triggering other people. And I have come to the realization when I read a post on something, the first thing I think of is, what is this post being made for? Is it being made to give real information, or is it being made just to get clicks on? Because there is a distinct difference between the two. And if I feel like it's a post that's just basically there to generate clicks and just to get people to come and check it out, then I have the option to click on it and view it if I want to. But I don't feel like people should be going completely out of their way to say, oh, this is why people are biased. No, people are doing their job, and there is not enough jobs in the world to, support the world as a whole. So those people are going to do whatever they need to do to, further their careers, to do what they need to do. And I just accept that that's what it's going to be now. So I just want people to use that energy somewhere else for a change.
Yes, that's a good point. It is. I think it's very counterproductive, especially investing all this energy towards something that's plastic, has wires in it, and is made for one's enjoyment.
Exactly.
Like, you don't see anyone throwing down the bottles of Jergens and getting upset. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Can we talk about this?
Hey, Jergens. The Jergens is our sponsor, and I got to plug them anytime I can.
Yes.
So
that's terrible.
Yeah. So great point, guys. And Nick, thanks for explaining or giving a little bit of insight into how some of these social media accounts are run, and that it's not necessarily the people that are doing the reviews and actually doing the articles that are running these accounts.
Nobody gets bent out of shape when Wendy's dunks on people.
Nope. If people actually think that like Jason Schreier is running like the Kotaku Twitter account, no, he makes bad tweets on his own account.
I can't argue that.
He does more than make bad tweets in his own account.
He contradicts himself. People call him out. He blocks them.
You know what? I want to shout out Chief. Chief told me to say it too. He said he'd rather yell at EA and Activision, right? Put that energy towards companies that are actually like dogging you.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Band together as gamers, like, all right, whatever. Ignore, if you want to feel that so-and-so's bias or whatever, stop giving them any attention. But there's plenty of other things that we can band together with. There's plenty of companies that do bullshit day to day that we can band together against.
Yeah, let's band
Put
against
that energy somewhere else.
Let's go after Rockstar for those unholy microtransactions in Red Dead 2. Let's talk.
Right. You saw Reggie Phil.
That was coming though.
You saw Reggie Phil and Layden on stage. Let them figure all the other stuff out.
Facts. That's a great point.
the biggest thing people need to realize, people will they will do what you allow them to do. Right. So if you are going to websites and supporting the content they're putting and giving them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of clicks, guess what? The next article that person does, they're going to do the same thing. It's just like people that come over from the PlayStation community or people from the Xbox community going over to opposite platforms YouTube channel and downvoting their video, just say, "Oh, I'm doing us a favor. I'm fighting a good fight." No, you're helping them out. You're helping them and you're supporting their channel to be shown to more people. So you got to, sometimes you just got to, that's why I don't look at half the videos and stuff or look at some articles no more. I just like, it's enough people on YouTube and enough people on Twitter to do that for me, so I don't have to do it. And I'll find out from it anyways. I didn't know about the tweet from them until they started talking about it in the Brap chat, and I was like, so I'm not gonna waste my energy to go look at something that I don't feel is right. So why should everybody else do the same thing? But to each his own. People are going to do what they want to do. And that's basically how it's going to be.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
You know, I agree with Forte. I didn't know about that Polygon tweet. I don't follow Polygon. I don't think their content's good, so I don't follow them on Twitter. And I didn't know about it until, you know, people started. It blew up and it started circulating around. You know, if you didn't like what they said, you did the opposite of helping your position, because you just, you know, disseminated that tweet to all the people that, you know, you kind of didn't want to see that, you know, for whatever, you know, console war and reason that you had. It's the whole, you know, it goes into, it's not just the websites or on social media. You go on YouTube and you guys mentioned it. I call it the crap gamer effect, because crap gamer and you know, Crappy, cool guy, he probably don't care about how many dislike, you know, thumbs down he gets and all the hateful comments he gets in his videos chat. He doesn't care. You watched the video and you gave him more views. That's what he's doing it for. If you don't like that, then put him on, like, ignore, mute, whatever. Don't watch his stuff. It's as simple as that.
Well, that's a great point, man. It's a great point. All great points, gentlemen. So let's move on to our next topic, this big Xbox Anaconda topic. Big and thick. E, you there, man? I think we lost Eric.
No, I'm here.
He was on mute.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
You're supposed to chime in.
I heard that shit.
Man, you just ignoring your nonsense, man.
No.
Yeah, you guys don't talk about like bait and low hanging fruit. And Ricky he likes to set those traps, and then when he gets it going, then he like to call you out like you were wrong. Like, we're gonna move on. We gotta talk about games. It's like, hey, you started it.
You guys have caught on to my way. But no response to the DM anymore. Like Slow-Mo's like, oh, I reserved the anthem, blah blah blah. I'm like, garbage, nothing, crickets. No one says, like, hey, ignore that motherfucker. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Ignore Enrique. So you guys already know. You know, you guys are probably a different DM. Anyhow, no, but I do, in all seriousness, Nick's gonna be like, I'm never coming back on the show.
I'm just chilling.
We're just, look, man, we're just excited to have you on, man. That's what it is, man. So, no, but all joking aside, there is some Xbox related news as it relates to their next console, and you know, I thought this was kind of interesting. I guess there's a couple of different, like, project names, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but so basically we know about Xbox Scarlet, right? Big picture. And then the Scarlet, there's the Anaconda, the Anthem, the Dante, the Lockhart, the Maverick, and the Roma. So I mean, seriously, I mean, like, I think we actually were talking about this at DM, and I think you know, B, I kind of want you to jump in first because I thought you brought in some really good points. But it looks like, what is this, potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different SKUs? Is that, you know, I mean, I mean, you got to imagine though, some of these one of the projects is a replacement for the Xbox One S. I believe a diskless Xbox One S that they say potentially is going to release next year. And then there's the cloud streaming device. But let's say for argument's sake, there's 3 devices. And look, I've heard the argument. I know some people were like, oh, well, this week people were kind of arguing back and forth. Oh, well, this is confusing. And, some people were like, well, no, it's not because they do this with cell phones. But I don't know. For me, at least, my optics on this. And just, again, I'm not bashing Microsoft. I'm just going by what they've done historically. I mean, I think maybe we don't all agree on this, but I think some of us may agree that Microsoft has trouble with messaging at times, right? Has trouble being, producing cohesive messaging that people understand. I think they've done a good job with the Xbox One X, but I think prior to that they've had some issues. But
they're getting better with it though.
No, that's why I brought up the Xbox One X. Yeah. I would agree with that. But I'm just saying, historically speaking, can you imagine them juggling 3 different SKUs? And B, I want you to chime in, because you brought up some great points at the DM. What are your thoughts about potentially 3 different types of Xbox products?
Well, I think that they could do 3 different products, but like you mentioned, I think the messaging has to be clear of what you're actually getting with the products. But I think anytime you introduce more than one product, you just leave open a window of confusion from the general consumer, and the sales associates. You know what I mean? Not every place is going to be GameStop or someone who's specific to gaming. So, if a mom or just a general consumer is in Walmart or Target or Best Buy and they're looking to pick up the latest Xbox, and their kids asking for Xbox for Christmas, and they go in there and try to buy one, and ask for the latest Xbox, and there's 3 different SKUs there. Are they going to be properly educated on what they're going to be purchasing? Chances are they're probably not. You know what I mean? And the sales associates aren't always educated. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of confusion that could be had there. And if the messaging isn't clear, it just makes it a lot more difficult. Especially if the competition, be it Nintendo or PlayStation, only has one box. You know what I mean? And it's a lot easier to explain what you're getting with that box. So it is definitely going to be interesting to see how they kind of roll this out. And maybe all these code names aren't technically hardware devices. Maybe they could be different versions that they're testing, and maybe only 1 or 2 of them come out, and it's just a later rollout or something like that. But I don't think it's a good idea to release multiple pieces of hardware. I thought it was a bad idea for PlayStation when they did it with the PS3. That didn't really work out too well for them. Be it as that console really wasn't what it should have been when it released. But multiple consoles, even with the 360, when they released, one without a hard drive and one with a hard drive, like that was super confusing for a lot of consumers. I think when you introduce new hardware, it should be one product only, and then later on down the line, you could, add additive consoles or special editions or whatever the case may be. So,
AB, let me ask you. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you because you bring up the 360, and I remember there was the arcade version, which I think came without the hard drive, right?
Right.
And then there was the 20 gig HD, whatever. I forget the what was that one called?
I think it was
was it the Pro?
I want to say it was the Pro model or something like that.
I mean, I didn't look at that as I'm just speaking for myself. I mean, I can't speak for the casual consumer. I didn't think that was too confusing because, to me it was like, okay, one has, hard drive space, the other one really doesn't, So, do I want to, pay more money for, hard drive? Or
I thought it was pretty simple.
Yeah, it was simple, but here they're talking about, Anaconda being like the Scarlet Pro, Lockhart being the Scarlet Arcade, which would, probably be more similar to what we saw the 360. And then, but then they have the Anthem, which is what Microsoft calls the Xbox One S version of its cloud platform. and then Anthem version 2, which will roll out next year, which is the revised version of the Xbox One, which is going to be, I think that's going to be the one without the disc.
Yeah.
And then you have the Anaconda Cloud, and you have these different like names, and we know about the streaming device. But I thought with at least with the 360 was a little bit better to understand. But I think when you start adding more features, I think maybe that's where it gets a little confusing. You know, like I think maybe Microsoft, if they do have these different SKUs, instead of taking it from a services thing of, okay, this is what we have Game Pass, we have Xbox Live, maybe just, hey, this is what this box does. You know, it plays games, right? It can play, this one plays games in 4K, or this one can, you know, doesn't play games in native 4K, this one does. This one just streams, you know, content that we put in Game Pass. If you don't want to deal with any other thing else and you want to take it wherever you go, that's what this does, you know?
But at that point, like, should there even be a console that doesn't play in native 4K? Like the
I'm just using that as an example.
Well,
no, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when you go to, if you're gonna have 3 different models, should there even be a console that plays games in native 4K? If the S already uploads to 4K and the X
well, the S
does
the S
4K,
the S doesn't upload for only certain games like 2K and stuff.
right? But it still does it. That's a feature that they try to roll out when they promoted the console. So,
that's true.
You know what I mean? Like when the new consoles come out and that console has been 2 or 3 years old at that point, you know what I mean? Maybe 4 years, depending on when the Xbox actually releases. If there's a console that does non-4K, like what would be the purpose? Like you already have a console that does 4K, would be the X at that point, and you would assume that price point would be at least on par with whatever the base level new Xbox is going to be.
Well, B, do you think the Lockhart is the Scarlet, like the Scarlet Arcade SKU? Do you think that one is the one that won't do native 4K? Because from what I got from the leak that came out is it's basically would be having the same amount of GPU as the 1X, but with a much better CPU. And if that's the case, it's going to be able to do native. It should be able to do native 4K, like 30 frames per second, no problem. Whereas like the Anaconda will be the one that be able to do 4K 60 with ease. And it seems like they are trying to make sure that one spec wise is more powerful than the PS5. So like wherever Sony ends up, they're just going to take it to the next level with that one. To me, I mean, but I get it. Like all this stuff is really confusing. Like the names, like we're all hardcore gamers, and we can't even get the names right of the other projects. It's just like there's Anthem, Dante, Ricky Bobby, blah blah. Like it's just like
hey, Ricky Bobby, crazy man.
It's just like what is happening? Like with all these code names, but then like I also have to think that like this is a shake and bake. This is a leak. This is a leak, so it's like it's not like Microsoft is like decided to push this, and you know. So even though I don't have much faith in their marketing, I still want to give them the benefit of the doubt that, like, all right, show me how this works. Like, show me what you're doing here, instead of just getting like a big information dump from Sam's and the Thurrott website. They get a lot of information. They do a great job. At the same time, it's like it's not marketed yet, so it's like I don't know how to take all this yet, you know.
Well, from what the leak shows is Danta is basically a combination of the two, of Lockhart and of Anaconda together. It would be too costly to send out multiple of the different systems to people. So they send one dev kit that basically houses both systems inside of it. So that's what Danta is. It's basically just the development kit that is used by developers to, streamline for Lockhart and for Anaconda. So that one we can kind of eliminate. Okay. Now, we didn't know anything about what xCloud was going to be, so it looks like xCloud is one of those code names, but we already knew about xCloud. And we also already knew that they were making a diskless Xbox One, which is probably what the other one is. So I kind of don't really count those two. Well, I really don't count the streaming system. I don't count the diskless system, because those are going to be solutions that are going to be kind of offshoots, and most people aren't going to, I mean, they'll probably be adopted very high, especially the streaming one, depending on how they market it. But Lockhart and Anaconda are going to be the ones that they really push. And I think they're going to use that 360 mantra where they have, hey, this is our $300 or $400 system. They already said that the system is slightly more powerful than the Xbox One X. It has a 7 terabytes of GPU's power. CPU is going to be on par, but better. And then the Anaconda is supposed to be even more powerful. So they're trying to hit multiple price points, and that's the reason that you're going to see that type of push. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see the original, like the Lockhart, come out at the same price, if not $100 or $50 lower than a PS5, but you're going to pay out the butt for that Anaconda, because they're gonna say this is for the people that want it, but we're pushing this other system, and then they're just gonna have entry points for them to get when it comes to the streaming system and the discless Xbox. And that discless Xbox is probably going to come by the time this system launches. Can you imagine what Game Pass is going to look like by then? You know, they bundled 12 months of Game Pass in that system with it. You're talking about a person that probably has games for at least the foreseeable future without having to buy anything. So
Forza, you say you think that they're gonna make you pay out the butt for the Anaconda.
Oh yeah,
you're thinking north of 500.
I'm thinking it maybe 6. I can see 6. I can see 6. I can see it. I can see.
We cannot name at any point in history, in video game history, where $600 has been a very good price point.
But we haven't seen a time in history where consoles or people in general are willing to spend this type of money on something that they want, though.
See, that's what said that.
Times have changed. Like if PlayStation was to announce if PlayStation 5 was to come out and they was to announce a $500 price point, the problem with that would be people. I don't think it would be as outrageous as it was back then, just because once a person does it, it's kind of like it's not new anymore. It's like, well, somebody had already released the $500, $600 system, so I guess it's about time to start doing that. I mean, you got people upgrading every year, for new phones and spending $700, $800, $900, $1,000. I mean, iPhone X's cost $1,500.
Yeah, but people view phones differently than they view a console.
They didn't view phones like that back then, though. Phones just progressively gotten like that over the last 6 to 7 years, and
but you can trade phones in, though. You could trade your phone in.
Too.
I mean, yeah, you can, but I think you're probably getting better value in a phone trader than you are in a system.
No, not at all. Not at all, brother. I get people that trade it. Okay, so you tell me this right now, because we take trade-ins of iPhones at our store. An iPhone 8 right now trades in for $400. My iPhone 8 that I have right now, I paid $949 for.
But so you take that $400, you go to whoever your carrier is, you pay for half of the phone, then you're subsidizing the rest.
Yeah.
It depends on your carrier.
And people aren't subsidizing consoles really right now. So,
but that's why that system's not for everyone. Like, it's not.
I mean, I think Microsoft understands that it's not going to be for everyone, but then you still want the people who are going to target that to actually buy it. Like, I don't think any console should be over $500. I don't think that's a very smart idea for any console platform to be over $500. I think you're looking to have a lot of hardware and inventory laying around.
We looked 2 years ago. We were saying a system over $400 was something that nobody would buy.
I just think whatever the base console is going to be at a lower price point
than the PS4, the PS5,
than $400.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna be $299, $300,
$399 or $350 or something like that. Yep. Anaconda probably won't touch higher than $500.
Yeah, I'm thinking $500 for Anaconda and like $350 for Lockhart. That's what I think it would be.
So it all depends. Also, this comes down to what PlayStation 5 comes in at, because you don't want. It would be nice to see Anaconda at $500, but what happens if with all the stuff that's being leaked for PlayStation 5? If that system comes in at $500, you think Microsoft is going to put out the Anaconda at that same price, even though it's way better hardware?
I think they have to.
I think that Sony did this gen. they well, I mean, technically they were cheaper, but they were more powerful, and the narrative and as far in the mind share in the first 2 years of this console generation was, why buy a Xbox that's less powerful with a Kinect you don't want and an additional $100. I think if you're the same price and more powerful, you can kind of change some of that narrative, because now people are looking at like, this is a new generation. Let me start over. So like, let me look at which one do I want to roll with this time. Oh, this is more powerful in the same price. I think a lot of casual gamers who also know that their favorite franchises like 2K, Madden, Call of Duty, Battlefield are going to be on both systems. Are like, I'm going to go spend my money on the one that's more powerful, yet same price. I mean, does that make sense?
No, it does make sense, but I'm just a firm believer that Microsoft has seen so much success with the X that they didn't expect. I mean, think about it. No one expected the X to be their #1 selling system. You know,
finish your thought, and I want to chime in. But go ahead, man. No, go ahead.
I said most people didn't think that system would be the #1 selling system, and trust me, Microsoft sees that, so they know that their player base or the people that support their system wholeheartedly are willing to spend the premium price on that system. And the biggest thing is, if that system, I don't want to see a $600 system. I mean, would I buy a $600 system? If it's worth it, I will. But it really just comes down to what they are offering you and the things that are going to be in that box to prove that it's worth the price that it is. If they could come out and say that this system is going to run 4K 60 all the time, all the games, don't tell me that nobody in this party is not going to run out. Unless you got a PC that can do it, you're going to probably run out and get this system, even if it is $600, just because it is a substantial bump compared to what you got before. Now, if they release a $600 system and it's like marginally, like, I'm not going to say marginally because it's going to be way better than the X, but performance-wise, we all know 60 frames per second is the holy grail. If they can just hit 60 frames per second easier, but still not hit that, I mean, not 60 frames, if they can still hit 4K easily in every game, no checkerboarding or anything, but can't hit that 60 frames per second, then I feel like that system's not really worth the money. But it really just comes down to FPS, and I think that's what they're going to really base that archetype off of when it comes to that system.
Yeah, to your point, Forte, about us, nobody thinking that the Xbox One X was going to be their top selling console. But if you look at my opinion on this, my optics on this is, I think people, at least Xbox One owners, were probably more anxious and ready to upgrade.
Oh, I agree.
Sooner than later, which is why we see the kind of sales that we see with the X.
That's very true.
I think had Microsoft been in the position of Sony, you would have seen what we're seeing with Sony, where the PlayStation 4 is outselling the Pro. And so I think that's the biggest reason why. I don't agree with Sam where he said that the console prices are going to be going up next gen. I think maybe we'll see an increase, but I think we'll probably see console prices within the range that we're seeing now, or the beginning of this gen. Historically speaking, $600 consoles don't do well, and that's over the last 30 years of.
Oh, you gonna get that second job,
man. And I think at $600, even hardcore kind of look at that as with a side eye to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like all of us here, we're all hardcore gamers, but if you tell me you want $600 day one, and I still gotta buy another controller or
buy games,
sign up for Game Pass or EA Access or whatever because my subscription ran out. Like, you want me to spend $800 out the gate? Like, no.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
some of us have spent $1,600 to $2,000 this generation on systems in less than 7 years.
Yeah, but that's not all at once.
It's still over 7 years, man.
Yeah, but I totally understand that. I got an X in my house, a Pro, and 3 other S's and 3 other Slims in my house. So you know what I mean?
It's like I said, it's not. I'm not hoping that it is. I just know the type of person I am, and if the value is there for me, I'm gonna run out and get it. I mean, I bought a $400 version of Darksiders because I love that game. So You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility for me to spend $600 on a system. I mean, I upgraded my PC and don't even really use it for gaming. It spent way more than that to do it because I just like to kind of be up to date with the best and greatest, and that's just the type of gamer I am. So my opinion on that is kind of skewed. Just in that, like I said, that's all of an opinion piece. I don't think they want to release a $600 system. I'm just saying it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see something in that market sooner rather than later. And it also just comes down to the PS5. You know, if they could come in with their best system at the same price of a PS5, I agree. I believe they'll do it. But if it really just comes down to the tech that they're doing, we really haven't seen official specs of this system. And that's really going to tell the story right there. Once you start seeing these specs and you start kind of, you know, coming up with what it's going to be tied to stuff that's already current in the market, we'll be able to eyeball that price a little bit better.
Well, I want to just say two things real quick, and then Enrique, go ahead and take it back. But last year when it was still the Scorpio, and we got the specs and Digital Foundry went through everything, everybody's like, oh, you know, this thing is going to be at least $600, and it came out at $500. Like, it was almost unheard of. No one was really saying it was going to be at that price. If there's anyone that could go overboard with, you know, the specs of the Anaconda and still bring it at $500 out of any of the big three, it's Microsoft.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I mean, if it was Sony and they were talking about doing something like this, I'm thinking it's $600.
Sony didn't do it though.
But Sony wouldn't do this.
They couldn't do it because of what happened before.
Yeah, and Nintendo definitely isn't doing it. Nintendo won't go above $300 for any new SKUs that they come out with. So
Nintendo, they're getting ready to hit 1080p native.
Yeah. They're trying to catch up to this gen. So, like, you know, it's I think if anyone can do that they're, you know, your big time most expensive system at $500, it's Microsoft. And I think that's where they're at. I think they want to try to change the narrative on them in the gaming industry so badly that they won't do anything on a price point anymore, where they're like, not only did they lose the power battle, but they lost the price battle. You know what I mean? Like, now they're taking care of the price battle. I mean, the power issue. But they're not, I don't think they're going to allow the PS5 to be you know, $100 cheaper than their highest SKU. I don't think they'll do that.
All right. I want to get Undead in this, man. Undead, what are your thoughts, man?
Oh, I hate talking next generation consoles a year and a half before I have to fucking look at them. But
true.
Look. I think what we've seen and what PlayStation and both Xbox have realized is that there is enough of an audience of video games. Like, let's face it, you can see from the latest NPDs, video gaming is off the wall popular right now.
Yes.
Everything's trending upwards at an insane rate. So what Microsoft and Sony have realized is that there's two different levels to this gaming atmosphere. There's the people that just go out and buy a Slim, an S, whatever. They play Fortnite. They buy a couple of games. They'll subscribe to a service. That's your casual market. Then there's this hardcore market where we can sell something that does it a little bit better, and they'll pay more money for it. Perfect. They've realized that there's two different demographics within this market, and now they're just going to be looking to appeal to both. They want to appeal to the audience that just wants to do a little casual gaming, doesn't really care about the fine details, but also peg into the audience that's like, ooh, that's 4K. Ooh, all those, like all the guys that are like super into the tech side of things. Like, that's the appeal of PC gaming. You can game on a $300 PC. You can game on a $5,000 PC. How you want to do it, that's the appeal. The biggest thing is that we're going to see multiple SKUs. Now, if Xbox comes out at launch and goes, there's 7 SKUs, that's not a good idea. No. Coming out on 2 SKUs, your marketing has to be perfect. Absolutely perfect. If you misstep even the slightest in how you present, especially a multi-tiered console, you're going to have confusion. There's confusion about the S and X all the time about what it can do because of advertising. It plays best on Xbox, but we're talking about the X, but we're saying it's the S. There's marketing confusion and everything with just those two SKUs alone. Now, the thing is we're talking about going into, like, you know, consoles might go diskless. We're talking cloud streaming. So that's going to open up different SKU opportunities on how cheap can I put a console in someone's home. Because if I can sell you a stream box for $99 and then another $30 for the controller, and I could sell 140 million of them and then get everyone to subscribe to Game Pass, of those 140 million, I can make recurring money till the end of time.
Right.
Off of a streaming device. I think they're going to do a streaming device, and they're going to do a traditional console, and I think they're going to go with a third SKU, and that's going to be your Anaconda. So basically what they're going to do is how I imagine this is going to plan out is they're going to go, if you enjoy streaming like Netflix and blah, 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 if you like streaming all your things, if you're a huge fan of doing this, we have this SKU for $199, $99, whatever. And then we have our mid-range SKU, which would be like your S alternative, where it's the standard console. It's what all your games are developed to, but it's a decent all-around console. This is going to be our mid-range SKU, which can come in at $399 for argument's sake. And now we're going to have the Anaconda SKU, which is your high-end. This is we'll put some neon lights in it, like the pre-made PC cases and things like that. We'll make it all shiny and dry in. And this is our high-end SKU where you can do 4K, 60 FPS, access graphical settings, best place to play with keyboard and mouse, and do all that stuff, we'll say. You have to be, that's a really hard sell, because you're going to have moms coming into GameStop asking employees who are 18 years old getting paid minimum wage to go, so what's the difference between the $109.91, the $399.91, and the $599.91? And then you add in 4 more SKUs that they're talking about. I don't think they're dumb enough to launch with that many SKUs. I think we will see both companies come out with multi-SKUs. Because simply, as we've seen from NPD numbers, they're making too much money on the Pro and the X to not want to tap into that budget. Like the margins on Xbox Ones and PlayStation 4s on the Pros versus the X's are substantially better.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Nick, question, because you bring up a great point about multiple SKUs. I guess, you know, and like the casual consumer coming in, I guess the first question the casual consumer, I would imagine, would ask, and I think Forte, you could probably speak to this better than all of us here on the panel. You know, what games does it play? I mean, to me, that would be the first obvious question, right? And then, how do you explain that then? Like, you know, well, okay, well, one does streaming, but it doesn't stream, you know, because that's the other thing. I mean, like, are these games going to scale? You know, is the streaming device going to be limited in terms of the kind of games you can play? Or are these games going to be scalable? I mean, I think we've heard maybe Phil talk about scalability, you know, with different hardware for games. I mean, that to me that's the unknown. I'd be interested in learning a little bit more about that, you know, as we learn more about these consoles. But to me, that would be the obvious question is.
Well, the thing is too, when you talk about scalability, the thing is you got to look at what. It's important to cross-examine what other developers are doing as well. You need to look at, like, for example, like Google Cloud's doing right now. They've got those Assassin's Creed Odyssey tests they're running. And we're just watching people play a game at a solid frame rate, a solid graphical setting. I believe it's 1080, 60 FPS. Some people were running 1400 if they had the monitor setups for it, off of a stream game. And all you needed was, I think it was 25 megabytes per second download, I think.
Yeah.
So with a streaming box, you're not limited by the hardware. You're limited by the person's internet connection.
Yeah.
So then when you're the hardest part about selling a streaming device is, especially when it comes to streaming games versus Netflix or anything else, is do I have the internet to run that? Is my internet good enough that I can have the optimal experience?
Great point.
I agree with that.
And then it's a matter, but then that's the messaging, you know. Then you have to explain that, you know.
You need to literally have
also
something
with
on
that.
your site. Like they literally, like Microsoft, if they're gonna do this cloud gaming thing, and they're gonna do this streaming thing, my biggest recommendation is have somewhere on the actual Microsoft or Xbox site that it links you to, and go, is my internet compatible to run Scarlet, for example? We'll call it Scarlet. Is my internet consistent enough? Takes you to a speed test page, runs it, and goes, you need this to run Scarlet. This is what you have. You are sufficiently covered, yada, yada, yada.
Well,
That's the kind of level of clarity you need to have, because I tell you, the first 30-year-old soccer mom that goes out and buys this stream box for 12-year-old Johnny so he can play Fortnite 2, and Johnny plugs in this device and Fortnite doesn't work because their internet connection's garbage, and they go back to the store and go, what the hell did you sell me?
right.
That's an issue, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
and then maybe I'm sorry, Forte, I'll let you
No,
jump in. But then if Sony releases one SKU, it's like, well, hey, here's a PlayStation 5 that plays games, and that's it. That's all consumers go here. Oh, I plug it in my TV, plays games. Yeah, that's all it does. Okay, I'm gonna get that. It's easier, right?
Johnny has bigger issues though.
Johnny has bigger issues.
Johnny's looking at Fortnite too.
Yeah. And by the way, hey, Carlton, nobody cares about your dance. Stop trying to sue
Or
Fortnite.
Book Bag Kid, shut up.
Yeah, or Book Bag Kid. Yeah, no one cares about the floss. I'm sorry, Forte. Go ahead, man. Great point, by the way, Nick. Thank you, man.
No, I was going to say, to bring a little clarification to it. I think when it comes to retail, I actually do agree with Nick on that. The biggest thing is places like GameStop wouldn't be the problem when it comes to something like that, because that's what they specialize in. It's mostly like Walmart, Best Buy, places like that. Because, you know, people don't know GameStop still has most of the market share when it comes to systems and games. So just because they're a specialty shop, we found out when we were at our conference that when it comes to system sales between Xbox and PlayStation, they still have about 40% of the market for systems sold. And then next in line is somewhere like Amazon. I think they were like 23%. So that's where the big problem comes in. Like, people that go on Amazon that don't know about this information, how are they supposed to know what systems are the right systems to buy for their, you know, family members? I still get people today coming in asking, you know, people that are gift givers, hey, what's the benefit of this one? Why is the X so much more? Why is this system better than this one? You know, it's very confusing, even with the systems we have on the market now. And that's only, you know, 2 on each platform. I mean, if you think about the X, they actually have way more than that when it comes to different bundles and stuff. And I can just imagine that getting a lot worse, but that's the biggest hurdle they'll have as a developer and as a platform holder trying to push these systems out to people. How are you going to communicate this? Like, I think when you go to certain websites, you should get a tutorial, because that's kind of what it feels like. You got to be told in some type of slideshow, how is this system going to benefit me? What is it going to actually do? Who is this system for? Are you one of those people that have internet connection? Do you want to be able to stream your games? Do you want to do this? It's just a lot of information that most retail stores don't have the time or manpower to do.
Real quick, Forte, that's a great point, man. I mean, I think that's an excellent point. But kind of back to streaming, guys, and I just asked this question in the panel too about, you know, is streaming the future? Noof Nukem says, I hope not. Slow-mo says eventually in the far future, but I think we're forgetting 5G. I know AT&T just rolled out 5G in some select cities in the U.S. Slow-mo, great point. Data capture the biggest hurdle.
Wait. AT&T did as well?
Yeah.
Verizon 4 cities back in October or September.
Yeah. So AT&T did
it too. Interesting. Very
interesting. So I mean, you know, we talk about 5Gs, and I think, you know, they're talking about, you know, 500 meg downloads on 5G
minimum.
Minimum. And so that's a game changer right there.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about, you know, something like, you know, Project Stream, where I forget who it was. It was somebody on Dealer's podcast last night, RDX, who said that he was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, And you see, yeah, there's some lag and stuff, but he said, for what it does, it looks pretty good and it plays well.
Right.
And that's over a landline. Imagine you throw in the 5G component, and you got to believe obviously Microsoft's aware of that. Sony's aware of that. Sony's aware of it because of the recent ad posting they put out for new hire for streaming services. But you got to believe that factors into their plans, and then begs the question, as I posed to the live chat, is streaming the future, which I do think it is. I think having access to content on the fly is awesome. I can't tell you guys how many people I see on the subway going to work that have Nintendo Switches and are just sitting there plugged in playing.
Well, Enrique, it just came back to me when you mentioned Google Project Stream and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. If you guys recall, I was having some issues playing it, and I've been doing a lot of testing, and as a network engineer, I kind of love troubleshooting this kind of stuff. So I wanted to get a bunch of different environments. I actually took my laptop and actually played it over at my parents' house on their network. Didn't have a problem at all. And so then I came back. Now they have less speed than I do, and they have Comcast, and it's not fiber at all. So I come back home and I have issues. And then I started talking with Verizon. I come to find out that what Verizon was doing, they were throttling me when I reached a certain amount of bandwidth being used.
What?
Yeah. So it's that's something that needs to be taken into account when these companies are trying to get their streaming done. Yes, because all Google said is, hey, look, you gotta have a Ubisoft Uplay account, and you need to have a minimum of 25 megabytes download. But that's not that. I mean, speed is not bandwidth. Those two things are different, and that's something that Google is not taking into account right now. They're still in beta, so this is you live and you learn. This is a good learning experience for them, and I kind of expected to have some issues, so I'm not tripping. I play the game for free, but but at the same time, that's something that they're going to have to take into account when they really want to get these streaming services off the ground. You can't account for the throttling of someone's ISP. You can't take that into account. And there are different ISPs in different states and different counties. And they got different rules. What Comcast is doing in one person's county is completely different than we're doing it somewhere else.
It's a great point.
It's a lot going into it, and until all this stuff becomes a little bit more uniform and a little bit more consistent, you're gonna have people who are just like, hey, look, I got great internet, but I can't do this. And when I play online with Forte on Xbox and Luca and all them, I never have any issues. But just when I did, when I started doing the actual streaming, where it was going to actually be pulling more data through the pipe, through the tunnels, through the internet, that's when Verizon put the brakes on me. So it's these kind of things that at some point either the ISPs are going to have to take their foot off of the throttling all these people, or you're going to have to find a different way to get this done. So just food for thought.
Good point, man. That's a great point. It's a great point, Slow-Mo. Gentlemen, I great points all around. I do want to move on to our last topic because I don't want to miss this topic. Of the evening. Our last topic, the Xbox year review for 2018. We're going to do some other year reviews for the other platforms, as we get through the holidays here. But I can't believe, guys, that 2018 is pretty much done. I mean, this year, this year has flown by, and I think you guys would all agree that, at least in my opinion, 2018 is probably the best year of this console gen in terms of just content. I mean, we started off. I think we were joking around in January, February, just how many bangers were dropping, right? It just I can't remember a year like this in quite some time, and so to me, this will go down as one of the best years this console gen. But That being said, I think, regards to Microsoft and their 2018, I think Microsoft, and I think we all agree with this, has come a long way since 2013.
That's
And
a
has
key word right there.
Yeah, they have, and has, made tremendous strides this year. We talked about this earlier in the year. I mean, and we got, what's funny? We got hammered. We had people unsubscribe to us because they felt like we were too hard on Microsoft. But everything we said in terms of their, some of the things that they were missing ended up to be true, because Microsoft ended up addressing those, weaknesses, if you will, that we talked about earlier in the year, more specific to their first party studios, the acquiring of the acquisition of studios like Obsidian, Ninja Theory, and so on. And it sounds like they might not be even done. It sounds like they may even be picking up another studio, maybe possibly this year. But that being said, and then Game Pass, where Game Pass has come, the success of the Xbox One X. I think it's been a hell of a year for Microsoft, and I think they've put themselves in a position where they can be really competitive going into next console gen, and I'm really excited to see what they have up their sleeve. But I want to get to everyone's opinion on kind of their opinion on Xbox this year, what they thought were some of the highs, maybe even some of the lows. And I'll start with you, Undead, since you're our guest this evening. Why don't you go ahead and take it, man?
Well, Xbox in 2018, it's interesting because my best time have been on Xbox and my worst time has been on Xbox. So that's the interesting end of the spectrum. And as far as worst goes, would probably be Sea of Thieves, I think. Pretty sure it was Sea of Thieves that almost made me sell my Xbox. I can't remember which game it was that pissed me off. Maybe Eric can remember. I remember going into the group DM going, "This is bad. This is terrible. I'm selling my Xbox."
It might have been Sea of Thieves.
Was that bad?
That thing almost was up out of here.
But as a whole, the steps forward that Microsoft has taken with the Xbox brand just this year alone, it doesn't make up for past missteps. It doesn't make up for 2016. It doesn't make up for 2017. It's a company. You got to hold them accountable for what they did on a year-to-year basis. And this year, comparatively to the previous two, has been the first sign of a heavy, more than just a light pulse at Microsoft. And the additions of studios and just the all-around outlook they have closing off this year, the future looks bright. Do they still have some hiccups down the line that they've got to deal with? Oh, for sure. Have they completely been able to lose all the negativity and things that they drew themselves? Rightly so? Not at all. But the thing is they're trying to move forward and they're trying to show people, hey, we're invested in you in the future. Would have liked that investment in the past 3 years, but things change. Studio acquisitions have been huge for them. They had a couple of good games this year. I will stand on the top of my roof of my house and scream that State of Decay 2 is fun, and I love it, but no one else will listen. But there's been a lot of great games. I play all my multi-plats on Xbox, so that's kind of why I think of, because my favorite times have been playing Hitman 2 and things like that, and Kingdom Come Deliverance at the start of the year, and all these different great games that I've played on it this year.
Hey Nick, real quick, and not to interrupt, but I mean you bring up some of these games. I think one thing I didn't mention, and you probably agree, the Xbox One X I think really kind of came into its own this year.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the biggest thing with how the X is working and why it's working, is because it's in the mind share now, and the advertisements they're running with the games they were selling, it's starting to all make sense. Like when Xbox One X sales spiked with Forza Horizon 4's launched, It's the same spike that we saw when God of War launched, and all of a sudden PS4 Pros were flying off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
You make the software that people want, people will dump money hand over fist into your hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And the X is showing people, hey, we're not beating the PlayStation Pro by a little bit on some games. We're beating them exponentially. And then being able to use that as a marketing tool to go forward and everything else. They're learning their marketing. They're getting better with messaging, adding inside Xbox and X018, whatever your opinions may be of the quality of those events. It is good that they have 13 events a year to communicate with their fan base, because that is important. And that's something they needed years ago, back when, at the end of every E3, we're all sitting there like, well, there's next year, guys.
Jesus.
But as a whole, I think they've got a good direction forward. They picked up great studios. They're making better marketing decisions. The potential for them next generation is absolutely massive. But it's still up to the fact that they could completely fumble it at any point.
Oh wow! I don't want to. I can't phantom that, but I think that you're right, man. I mean, there's always that possibility. If the studio acquisitions don't come through, because it's going to come down to game software.
Well, you're going to come down games and software. And this first thing I said when they acquired all these studios is, it's great they're acquiring all these studios, because there's going to be a couple that aren't going to work out, and that's just how the business works. There's not all those studios are going to make 90 Metacritic gangbuster games, but there's going to be some games that we're going to get to play, whether they're amazing or just good, that we wouldn't have been able to make if Microsoft hadn't bought those studios. We would never have seen another Ninja Theory game. We would never have seen another Obsidian game. Things like that are what's important about what Microsoft did this year, because they invested for the first time in a long time since the OG Xbox. It felt like they invested in the games industry itself versus just themselves.
That's a great point, man. That is an excellent point. Excellent point. B Money, what are your thoughts, man?
Oh man, since 2017, I've been screaming for Microsoft to be aggressive. That's the one thing that I wanted to see in 2018, and they definitely did that. In regards to picking up the studios and really pushing the X forward, but overall I think they had a pretty solid year. For me, there just wasn't enough software to give them a great year or an excellent year. I think a lot of the software they released was kind of soft. Didn't really catch my interest or anything like that, but I think the future is bright. I think going into 2019, they have a stronger lineup, at least something that, stuff that I'm more interested in, especially with Gears hitting. And they've done a lot of great things for the industry as a whole. The adaptive controller was a pretty smart idea.
Yep.
Trying to bring the industry together with Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella, some of the things they've been talking about and really pushing Game Pass forward. Keeping developers alive. So, overall, I'll give them a solid year. The future is looking bright, and hopefully 2019 and beyond is definitely what Xbox gamers have been asking for. So that's what we got to look forward to.
All right, man. Eric Jackson.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. What are your thoughts, man?
Jurassic Park.
No, I pretty much.
You're looking out the window, wait for a dinosaur to come by. You're like, well.
Brother, those iguana feels are real, man. I'm telling you. No, I kind of share the same sentiment as Nick and B, and we've had this talk in DM plenty of times. B and I've had this conversation a lot. All I wanted to see was a pulse and fight. I just wanted to see that you had me. You've answered everybody else on what they wanted services. You answered everybody else on what they wanted hardware. I wasn't necessarily looking for power or necessarily service from them. I was looking for those titles that made me fall in love with the OG and made me fall in love with the 360. the different genres, the different things that set them apart, the things that set them apart in the 360 era when they had Sony chasing them for the types of games that they were creating or putting out, like, you know, in Gears of War and Halo and stuff like that. But I wanted them to branch outside of that, and they pretty much did that for me at E3. You know, I said I just wanted to see something of a roadmap. I want to see some kind of fight. I want to see some kind of game plan, and that's what they did by announcing the acquisitions that they have, right? So now, wait for E3 takes on a different meaning, because this next E3, we should start seeing some of the fruits of those labors or some of the ideas that they have. You know, and like Nick said, right now it's sort of their ball to fumble. You know, I don't want to see them Deshaun Jackson and put it on the 1 yard line. You know, I want to see them. You know what I'm saying? I want to see them take it that distance and hopefully start delivering some things. And they've had a pretty strong draft. You know, if I keep using sports analogies. So now we need to see what their players can do. You know, and like I said, not all players work out. So they may not all work out, but hopefully out of spreading things out, you know, getting some strong talent, they will start delivering on, you know, some banging titles that actually show what this great hardware that they put out in the X can do. I mean, they delivered on what they said the X can do and what the potential of it is. But the only problem is right now they're still kind of dependent upon third parties to show that. So I'm hoping next year when we get to like Gears 5, we finally start to see that true potential of what they can do with their first party and their hardware, like what Sony's doing, you know. But overall, you know, like from all the other things that you guys mentioned, you know, the, you know, hardware, or not hardware, but controllers, you know, for, you know, disabled, their messaging seems to be getting a little bit stronger. They don't seem to be as leak heavy. So they seem to be trying to like shore up and be prepared for what the next generation may be. And I'll give them credit for this, man. Like they're staying in there and taking those lumps, and they've taken a lot of them, you know, but they could make them stronger on the other side of it. So that's what I'm hoping for.
It's a great point, man. Forte, man, what are your thoughts?
So 2018, man. So I have a little bit different perspective on it because, you know, I'm not really tied to the games that they release. I really think that overall, I really listened to the message that Phil Spencer said a couple of E3s ago, where he was talking about the roadmap he had for the X and for Xbox as a whole. And when I look at that, he's done everything that he said he was going to do. So I think that this year has been super successful. I mean, I think some things really struck lightning in the bottle for them, like Red Dead coming out and being as vastly superior on their platform to any other platform has really given them a really big boon towards the end of this year.
Yes, great point.
That was a huge get for them. I mean, you know, when you don't have everybody always talked about how, well, you got the most powerful system, but you don't have any type of IP or any game that can really show the advantages of it. Well, it took a third party to do it. Was that something that Microsoft planned? No, but they put out the blueprint with the system to actually get it done. So they actually lived up to the expectations of what this system needs to be. Getting 7 new studios and still growing their IPs is another great thing that they have done over the course of 2018. And the biggest thing for them, I just don't want them to stop. I want them to continue to stay hungry. I want them to continue to push boundaries like they did in 2006 when Peter Moore used to come on the stage with tattoos on his arm talking about Grand Theft Auto having day one content the same day it releases on PS3, you know, release dates on his other arm saying when Halo 5 or Halo 3 was releasing. You know, it was just stuff like that is the type of Microsoft that I want to see get back to the basis that they were. And we're starting to see that. I always tell people the reason I play on Xbox isn't because of games. It's mostly because of the friends I play with. Most of you guys are people that I play with on a consistent basis. I play with Slow-Mo a lot. But it doesn't hurt to have the IPs to back it up. I'm a huge Halo fan, and that has been a franchise that has desperately needed some attention. And I'm hoping that in the next few years that we could actually see some type of revolution when it comes to that actual IP itself, and then just seeing what these new studios come up with. Because the one thing we all know is people will buy your system if the content is there. The reason the Xbox only has 40 million, systems sold is because we haven't really convinced those people that are on PlayStation to want to come over and buy the system. That's the reason Xbox 360, we always say Xbox 360 did so well last generation, but it did so well because it had the games to actually back up the way that system was made. People had multiple systems back then, Xboxes, PlayStation, Wii's. That's the reason we had 300 million systems sold in the 7th generation, because every system had something for you. This generation, Microsoft is starting to finally come around to that, especially with the hardware. Some people wish they would have did it in a different way by, focusing on games first and then fixing it. But beggars can't be choosy. The fact that they're doing it now is the one thing that I'm just super happy that they're doing. And I think the culmination of 2019 going into the next system, if we can get people that said I'll never buy an Xbox ever again, and people get back in line and want to actually play on a Microsoft platform, that's what I think Microsoft has 100% just written the wrongs of 2013. So for just this year alone, I will give them something like I will give them an A, because I think they did everything they set out to do this year, even with the sparse releases. And, you may not have cared for some of the games, but honestly, it just really comes down to the friends you play with, the ecosystem. Are you enjoying the time you played on it? And I enjoy my Xbox One X more and more every day just because they made the system.
There's some great points for Tay. And you touched upon the 360, and I want to explain to some people. Part of our frustration for many of us and criticisms of Microsoft probably stems from the fact that many of us own the OG Xbox, and they were getting and so think about this. When you think about a console that is new to the industry, doesn't have any kind of footprint, and they're getting games exclusives from software. They're landing exclusives from Sega. They landed Ninja Gaiden, which was, huge for an unproven commodity at the time in the Xbox brand. And then you go 2 generations later and they're struggling. That's where the frustration and criticism comes from, guys. It's wait a minute. You guys were unproven and you guys were aggressive as shit. You got all these great games that no one thought you would get. And here you are, an established brand, and you're not getting those games. Like what? Like what's going on? And that's where the frustration came from. So I'm glad you brought up that point about the 360 and getting a lot of early games. Because look, the 360 had some really great content that was exclusive. Lost Odyssey comes to mind. Some great games that came on that.
It was just about games back then too. Yeah. I mean, I understand that this generation, like going forward, systems will never just be about games anymore, because features are as big a part of a system as the games that are played on them. But that's the one thing that Microsoft I'm happy they got back to. Not this TV thing anymore. It's just talk about the things that are beneficial to the people watching your content. That's the one thing we always got on like Sony about the presentation, and they're starting to knock that part out of the park. Now it's just finishing it's like what they always say, finish the fight. Master Chief, finish the fight. Finishing this fight means get everybody back in line and let everybody know that this is what your system is about. Because over the last 2-3 years, Microsoft didn't have any type of what was their identity? They didn't have one. Right. So we lost the Call of Duty license. Call of Duty, that was basically what we used to say, like, hey, you want to play Xbox multiplayer, we're the best place to play shooters. Can we really say that was the case over the last 2-3 years? Because Microsoft let so much go during the last 2 to 3 years when it comes to this 8th gen of consoles.
It's a great point, man. Great point. So I want to give Slow-Mo the last words on this subject. Slow-Mo, I know you've been itching to jump in, man.
Oh yeah, all you guys had great points. As I was thinking of everything to say and writing stuff down, the more you guys talked, I'm like, let me scratch that out.
Slow-Mo, I'm sorry, I forgot. You know what, man? Our sponsor just texted me. I was supposed to plug our sponsor quick and say this half of the presentation brought to you by Slow Mo Backslap is actually presented and sponsored by Jergens. Go ahead, man.
I love it.
Moving on.
Slow Mo. Go ahead, man.
Slow Mo Black Slappy, everybody.
Give it up, everybody, for Mr. Slow Mo Backslap.
Okay. So how I feel about Microsoft this year, and Xbox in general, I'm hopeful. I like where they went with things. I'm glad they addressed a lot of the concerns that the overall gaming community had with their platform, with their games, their systems. I do kind of feel bad for Rare and Undead Labs because their games really shouldn't have been in the spotlight that they were put in. And what I mean by that is there are so few games, so few first-party games that a Sea of Thieves and a State of Decay 2 ended up having to be like on the level of a Gears or Halo. And that wasn't the focus of those games from the very beginning. And it just kind of put them in the spotlight that the developers didn't intend it to be. And those games just couldn't really live up to expectations. Sea of Thieves didn't have the content. State of Decay 2 was not ready. It had too many bugs. And I mean, like, and Undead Labs is a small dev to begin with. So I'm something that when, like, say, like last gen, when State of Decay 1 came out, it was just as buggy, but no one cared about that because there were so many other great games out there, and people just looked at State of Decay for what it was: a fun game, a little bit different. We really experienced that before, and the bugs can be just, we can call it charm.
But in reference to Bethesda,
that's some shade. But but when it comes to now, when you have like a first party drought, it's like, nah, this needs to be better. And I feel like Microsoft is really at the cusp of greatness right now. Everything they're doing is on the upswing. I mean, they got.
You think with Microsoft, greatness awaits?
No, I'm not doing those slogans for.
You're not gonna touch that one, huh?
I ain't gonna touch that one. But what I'm saying is that I think that what they need is just one really, really great first party game that's not Forza Horizon. If they get that, I mean, I really kind of feel like a lot of the whole narrative, the Xbox has no games, the Xbox can't do this, and the jokes that Polygon throws out that triggers all the Xbox fans. These kind of things will go away when you can drop a game like God of War, drop a game like Spider-Man, and I think they're at the point where they've picked up great studios. I love Ninja Theory. I've always been a great fan of Obsidian. I do like Undead Labs. The only one that I'm kind of iffy on is Compulsion. I don't know why they purchased them, but whatever. But otherwise, like
Game Pass, baby.
There you go, Game Pass.
Yeah, and some of these devs will be just good for Game Pass, and some of them, like the initiative, the intention of the studio is for, I mean, they're all going to be in Game Pass, but the intention of the game is to be, like on that quadruple A greatness that they want to do. I love the adaptive controller. I thought that was a great idea, and I'm glad they step outside the box and do things like that, make it so it's compatible for other platforms, because they're disabled players are marginalized in so many different areas in their life. They don't need to be marginalized when they're just trying to enjoy games too. So right. I love that. I love the Japanese division that they're opening up, because it shows forethought into the future that, hey, look, we don't have any presence over here. We don't really seem to understand what these people want. And they're a demographic. They're the third biggest market, but they don't really do console gaming anymore. We need to figure out what they want and then work on getting more sales in this area. And I think that's a great idea to open up that division, and could potentially lead to a first party dev that just focuses on Japanese games, could be Japanese based. Actually, I think it was let me shout out the real Masterlin who said this. He said that in order for a non-Japanese company to purchase a Japanese company, you first have to have kind of go through all these hoops. So you kind of actually already have like some kind of be paying taxes to Japan and also have a business presence already in the country before you could go do that. And so this is kind of like a first step towards them potentially purchasing a Japanese developer, which is again, a great idea because their games sell over here, and going to Japan multiple times is another great thing because that's kind of pulling some of those games that end up being unintended exclusives for the competition onto your platform. So all those things were great. I do gotta, I gotta keep it real. The marketing is still trash, and I don't like the marketing.
Right.
Not like this, Mo.
Inside the Xbox is boring as all get out. I'm glad they're doing it, but I just wish it was done differently. I think how they market their first party games is bad. Bringing C-list celebrities who don't play games in.
Terry Crews is not C-list.
Oh, I'm talking about Tyrese and Megan Fox and whoever else they brought in to play Forza Horizon 4 inside Xbox, and you could tell they don't play games. It was terrible. I'm like, look, that's not marketing a game. Like show the game, find a different way to do this. Make me want to play the game. Like they should take some cues from Sony. Like Sony marketed Spider-Man marvelously. I mean, they did a great job at that. Like they need to do something different. Yeah, the Subway was perfect. I mean, like come up with something out of the box that actually works. Like C-list celebrities is bad, and doing an escape room to market State of Decay. How does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense. Like it's just they gotta change that.
A treasure hunt for Sea of Thieves.
Did they shoot someone out of a cannon for Sea of Thieves?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. They did.
See, like this. What does that have to do with? I mean, like I know that's in the game, but like show us something that's game related to make us want to play it. And it's just like the marketing has to change, and I think that's something they could work on. But I mean, their main issue is having first party games, and they address that. I love that they keep addressing the things that the community says they need to work on. And if they get the games, there's really just nothing else you can really complain about them with. Maybe hey, look, we don't know about all these different SKUs, but then again, it's a leak. They haven't really officially announced this stuff yet, so we need to give them opportunity to go ahead and do that. But I'm hopeful for Microsoft and Xbox in the future, and I'm hoping that next gen is way more competitive than this gen. Because for us as gamers, it's going to be the biggest benefit to us. Because when Microsoft is competitive to Sony, that means Sony treats us better. That means Nintendo treats us better. That means that like they have more competitive price drops, better games. It's just like it has to be that way.
Yeah, Slimo Xbot 448. Big shout out to Xbot. Agrees with you. Says marketing is definitely an issue with Xbox.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people see that, and it's I mean, you see it on both sides. You see it from the Sony camp, and you see the Xbox camp calls it out too. I think it's something they need to look at. Now, I'll stop calling for Aaron Greenberg to be fired, but I just think like we need to change the focus a little bit. Where it seems like they don't understand their demographic with these games that they're marketing to. And
bye, Major Nelson.
Bro, too much focus on onesies and too many dudes accepting it.
Yeah.
Where can I get one of those? Shut up. I want to wear some footy pajamas. Go sit your ass down somewhere.
Okay, I'm feeling personally attacked at this point. if a 6'6", 300-pound man cannot wear footy pajamas, then I don't want to be right.
Right. Well, I do before we forget. Shout out to Cody Issa for putting out that awesome art. Eric Greenberg did feature that in a tweet that he did. So
yeah,
that's somebody in our community. Even if you don't like some of the stuff he says, the man still, he speaks the truth and the stuff that he believes in. He put out some really cool artwork that Eric Greenberg is going to make it to T-shirts and probably going to start handing out at E3 and stuff or wherever they're going to plan on doing it. So I definitely want to give him a shout out because that was all it takes is one thing. They put yourself on the map, and it's not like the man needs any help. His YouTube channel was growing, and I can see this helping him even more. So congratulations to him for getting that shout out from Greenberg about that shirt.
Yeah, maybe Colt should take over Larry Herb's job. You know?
Man. the younger version.
Yeah, shit. I've been saying big shout out to Lord King, the ILP. I've been saying Lord King should take over Major Nelson's job.
Oh yeah, he'd be great. He'd be great at that. I also think that dude, what's his name? Ricari.
Ricari's.
I think he's really good on Inside Xbox. I also think that British woman is also really good too. I think they should keep her in. She's really good.
That's brought to you by Jergens.
I'm not gonna lie, Ricari. He when we were at our conference for GameStop this year, normally they have different people come out. Ricari actually came. He's the one that came to our conference and he did the presentation for it. And he did very well, like to the point where I was like super shocked, like, because seeing him on Inside Xbox and you don't really know what the messaging is behind those because some of those strings are being pulled by Larry Herb. But the fact that he was there, had the whole show to himself. He talked about all the different things and promotions they had, the adaptive controller coming out, the new white Xbox One Elite controller. He was really speaking to the fans or speaking to the company like we were all gamers. And that was something that I really appreciated from his presentation. And it didn't come out as forced. It didn't come out as something that, was real cringeworthy. So I do hope something like that definitely does happen for him in the future there, because I can see him really stepping it up in that aspect.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, it's funny. Chief Tomei in the live chat says, nah, Kid Smooth should take Major Nelson's position.
Well, he just needs to be the cheerleader.
I'm a vote for Dave.
He just needs to be the Kid Smooth needs to be the mascot. That's it. Just the mascot.
Just Xbox logo head running around.
The guy that stands outside of the place and try to get you to come in and buy the system. That's Kid Smooth.
Oh boy.
Put him in a Conker's suit and we'll call it a day.
Right. And that's not a knock against Kid Smooth. That's just he's a hype machine. He knows how to trigger people on Twitter, and that's what you need. You need somebody that's just going to drum up the interest in your console, and I think he can do that very well in that type of space.
He's Professor Griff, man.
Yes.
You guys remember him?
Is he Griff or Flavor?
He's Griff.
Yeah, he's definitely
There's
Griff.
a controversy.
Okay.
So, well, gentlemen, hey, that's some really great insight. Thank you everyone for, sharing your thoughts on the Xbox and their year review 2018. But look, we are out of time tonight. We're gonna wrap up this Brat podcast, and I just want to give a big shout out to Nick Undead. I can never get the numeral letter 3X. I'm sorry, Nick. I can never remember it, man. I need to write it down. Your Twitter handle. Eric's always correcting me. Makes you feel stupid.
No, that's not my intention, man.
No, I know, but I feel stupid because when you're like, oh, it's undead, blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh, yeah, how come I can't remember that?
Hey, don't worry about it. I get Eric to write down whenever we have guests on the Gaming Perspective. I get him to write down the guest's name and an introduction because I can't do that shit.
Well, Nick, man, hey, it was great having you back on, man. Always appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, man. And we'll have to, hey, open door policy, man. Anytime you want to come back on Brap, you let us know, man. You're always welcome to anytime, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm free a lot. I don't do a whole lot. I just play video games and try not to get beaten up by my kids. So
there you go, man. There you go. Nick, go ahead, man. Why don't you plug Gaming Perspective and where people can find you?
If people want to follow me, they follow me for horrible gaming takes at Undead3FBI. You can check out the Gaming Perspective podcast every Saturday night at 8 p.m. except for the next 2 weeks. And you can find anything I write, any opinion pieces, news, and everything else at www.tickgamesnetwork.com.
Awesome. And by the way, guys, Eric's actually a panel member of Gaming Perspective, so please check those guys out. They put out great great content. Sam's part of that podcast as well. So definitely give those guys a listen. And hey, big shout out to Slow-Mo and Forte. Gentlemen, thank you again. Always a pleasure shooting the shit with you guys and talking some video games. You can find those two on Luca's Scumcast, which goes live Saturday. What is it? 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It is whenever Lucas says it is.
Whenever she ain't got a hair appointment or she just feels like doing it.
Although it is postponed. Well, I mean, not postponed, just canceled for this Saturday for obvious reasons. You know, the holiday. So
the holidays, yeah. I did just say that. So please, guys, check out the Scumcast. Freaking
40 episodes.
Yeah, freaking hilarious podcast. I love it. I love the honesty and the love.
If you want to see more of the first 15 minutes of this podcast, you're going to get a whole episode of it in that podcast.
Oh yeah, you will.
This is facts. This is facts.
It's lovely.
And as always, big shout out to B Money. B, always great talking video games with you, man. You can check out B Money on the Tick podcast, which is Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I get the time right, B?
Yeah, that's right, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, and you guys have some new co-hosts, some new panel members, right?
We do. Delilah HD is on there. Post Up BBB is on there.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, and what? Wow. Well, I always forget the third one.
Clowns from Four Guys.
Yeah, it's on Clowns. So
yeah,
there's three new members on there.
Nice.
And you know, they all bring a great perspective to the show, and appreciate all of them being there. So
good stuff, man. Yeah, that's a great group of panel members. And you know what? I got to give a big shout out to what I would describe as our friends, almost like family, to the Iron Lords podcast. They hit 1,000 subs. If you haven't subbed to them yet, definitely check them out. Find them on YouTube at the Iron Lords podcast. Check them out. They go live Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, on that note, we are out. And again, this episode of BRAP has been brought to you by Jergens. When you have a headache, a migraine, rub it around your head. When you have ashy skin, rub it around. Jergens.
I don't think that's how it goes, though.
It goes when you're watching Twitch streamers.
Oh wow! Wow.
Use Dove. Was it Dove?
No, Jergens.
Was it Dove Forte?
Yeah, it was Dove, sir. It was that good old Dove.
The cocoa butter.
You got to make sure
the cocoa butter.
You got to make sure it's the dry skin treatment so you can it can last longer.
Oh, hey, on that note. Wow. Okay. On that note.
On that note, we are out. Hey, by the way, everyone, have a great, safe, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Remember, we got Matt Piscatella on next Wednesday from MPD. Should be a great show. Don't want to miss that. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Peace.
Jergens.
Jergens.
Have dry skin. Jergens.
Hit the button, man.